First thing I want to start with is just sort of this overall paradigm because we're going to be talking a lot about programming. So if you're unfamiliar with exercise programming, exercise prescription, I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with kind of the model that we're using to sort of predict how people would respond to exercise or in some cases the lack of exercise. And so the model that we use here is called the fitness fatigue model, wherein an exercise program that contains things like the exercise selection, rest periods, loading, volume, how close these efforts are taken to failure, how often people exercise, and so on. All of these exercise prescription factors, we collectively refer to that as the training stimulus. So, all of the nuts and bolts of a particular program, we call that the training stimulus. The person does that, or it's imposed upon them in my sort of quality improvement project, and then they experience the exercise program as training stress. Okay. And so the people will respond very differently to a given sort of exercise intervention based on their current levels of fitness, their genetics, their expectations, their mood, nutritional status, sleep status, all of the things that make the individual a unique biological organism. And so that experienced sort of training stress then leads to both fitness and fatigue at the same time. Not necessarily in the same amounts. You could have a very well programmed exercise intervention that leads to more fitness relative to fatigue. You could have a very poorly planned exercise intervention that leads to more fatigue than fitness adaptations. And so, assuming intelligent exercise programming, we would like to generate as many fitness adaptations as possible with the given amount of resources, which includes time. And so, what we're trying to solve for here is what is the maximum dose of training stimulus that a person can tolerate, not only logistically, so time that they have available to them, and also, is there a gym nearby, all sorts of stuff, and also what they can tolerate physiologically, meaning that if somebody like you or I, Austin, who are well trained, well, we can certainly tolerate a much higher level of exercise than somebody who's previously inactive. So that's the thing we're trying to solve for. What is the maximum dose of training stimulus that can be tolerated not only logistically but also physiologically. And again, we assume intelligent programming. So that's, again, appropriate selection of exercise, loading, rest periods, rep schemes, proximity to failure, et cetera, relative to an individual's goals and their current level of fitness. Hopefully, this dose is at least maintenance level training stress for very well trained individuals and the minimum effective dose for untrained individuals.